music business and being in a band is definitely not something that is for the faint of heart. I talk about that a lot with my drum students. I talk a lot about it on my podcast, Drummers Education Connection. And that's kind of what, was the thing that made me want to start doing these videos again here on my YouTube channel is just being able to kind of survive the music business and survive the music business as in such a fashion that you can get through it as unscathed as you can possibly get through something like this, be able to make a buck and be able to live a happy life with something that you feel good about. The music business is replete. It is filled with stories of bands and musicians and individuals who just went through chaotic lives and went through chaos and ended up with nothing or ended up with huge grudges and huge battles going on, right? Think about it. Mick and Keith have been able to figure it out and they figured out how they could work together, right? For all these years and still have a great life together. Do they get along? Stories that I've read, no, they don't. Gene and Paul, same thing. They're friends, they get along, but they're completely polar opposite people. Uh, John and Paul, not so much. They lasted 8 years. It was over with, right? Sammy, Dave, and Eddie. Um, That feud is notorious. Now I use just the first names because I think everybody out there watching this, you included, know who I'm talking about. Because I don't want to get this video pulled or have anything happen that violates the law or step on anybody's toes. Um, so I'll say that, and you can read the stories, you hear about the stories. I mean, the story of one of the biggest rock bands in the world. You know, the band broke up due to spilt milk, literally spilt milk. And again, I'm not going to say their name. You can do a little bit of research and figure out who that was. Um, an incident that happened backstage between two of the band members' wives, right? Band breaks up over spilt milk. Now, if that can happen to the biggest bands in the world and some of the biggest names in the business making big money, it can happen to my band, it can happen to your band, it can happen to anybody in the business. So what I want to do in this video is give some anecdotes and a couple maybe little stories of things that I've personally gone through and help you avoid the pitfalls. Doesn't matter if you're out there making a living at it as a pro or if you're trying to do that or if you're just playing in a band on the weekends down at the local pub. Tensions can run high and they just really can. And I think the number one thing is to kind of keep your head and be cool, right? Because again, tensions are going to run high. Things are going to happen and it's really easy to kind of either step on somebody's toes or get your toes stepped on and get things, a little bent out of shape that don't need to be bent out of shape, right? It's really easy to get our feelings hurt. So I think sometimes just keeping a cool head, and if something's going wrong, somebody's having a bad day, rather than argue, rather than fighting, rather than getting back in their face, walk away. Just don't even get involved with it. And believe me, a lot of this stuff, everything I'm telling you here, to be totally honest with you, it's stuff that I've lived through that I've done, and so don't get in somebody's face. Maybe just let things blow by. Let it go about your day. Let the chaos happen over here. And I'm not saying hide your head in the sand. If something needs to be dealt with, of course you deal with it. But if there's drama going on, maybe you don't need to jump in the middle of it, and maybe you don't need to jump in the middle of it to try to stop it, right? To like, okay, this is happening. I'm going to help control this because all that does is escalate it. So just maybe keep your head cool, walk away, stay on the cool side of things. I think that is a good pro tip there, if you will. I remember, I think I remember one time there was an argument going on, and I truly was. I just wanted to help diffuse this argument. And when I got in the middle of it, all of a sudden both the guys turn on me. I was like, wait a second, man, I'm just trying to help you guys figure this out. So it's easy to have that sort of stuff happen. And again, it's something that does happen, right? The other thing is we are in the music business, man. We're in the music business. So if you're trying to make a buck, right? You're trying to make a living at it. You're trying to sell records. You're trying to be on tour. Sometimes you're just trying to make enough gas money to get from one town to the other, right? That's all you're trying to do. It is a business. And if you don't treat it as such, it will fall apart on you. It will completely disintegrate. Think about it, any other job in the world. How would you act if you had a job making widgets, right? And you were expected to do certain things at the widget factory or not do certain things at the widget factory, right? Treat being in a band that way because that is what a pro does. That's what a professional musician does. They come in, they do their job, they don't complain. If they're expected to do this much work, they do this much, go a little bit above and beyond, and then they get their check and they leave and they go home. Don't complain. Don't don't try to rewrite the songs. Don't try to play the songs better than the original recording. Play the songs the way they were meant to be played. Do your job and go home. Don't cause drama. Don't get involved in drama. And remember that it is a business. Protect your reputation. Um, there was a person that came through the band that I'm in now who was when they first got into the band, their big thing was, I don't need special treatment. I don't need my own room. I just want to be one of the guys. I want to be treated like one of the guys, and I just want to be in a band. And this is the band I want to be in. So we hired this person. We went out on the road for our first road trip with this person, and uh, it wasn't we hadn't even played the first note of the first gig, and it was just pure mayhem. And it was really hard to deal with. And needless to say, that relationship lasted maybe 4 months, 5 months. And when it was over, it was one of those things where it was like, good riddance. See ya. We don't want to deal with that anymore. So the reason I go into that with the reputation thing is that I got a call about that person from another band one night, from a mutual musician friend. Said, "Hey, we're void of a player, and I know you had played with this person. Would you hire them again?" And my answer simply was no. I wouldn't work with that person, even if they called me to hire me on a gig to go play with them. I wouldn't do it. It was way too much work. So that person's reputation was completely tarnished with me. But also, when that person got into the group, I got a couple of warning shots across the bow from other musicians saying, "Hey, man, be careful." So your reputation is really important. The music business is not a big business, it's a very small business. And everybody knows each other. Like every player knows the other player, right? And so having a bad reputation, having a reputation of somebody that shows up late, doesn't do their job, doesn't learn their songs, it causes chaos that gets around really fast. So protect your reputation. Be able to adapt and pivot. Um, that I think is super important. And it really, here's one that everybody can relate to. Man, when COVID hit and the world got shut down, talk about adapting and pivoting. Everybody had to do it. Well, we're going to go here now. How are we going to make this work? So all live gigs shut down. When I'm on tour, when I'm on the road, I don't pay a lot of attention to the news just because we're moving so fast. And we had been playing a residency gig in Laughlin, Nevada, and of course, I had heard of COVID. I had heard this COVID thing. And but again, while I'm out there on the road, I wasn't paying any attention to it. It was before everything got shut down. I just wasn't paying attention. We got home. We were going to have one of the busiest years of our lives that year. This was 2020. And we got home from the gig in Laughlin and we were playing a casino gig here in Southern California. I got to the casino gig to load in. I'm standing on the dock and my bass player got there. We were the first two at the gig. And he said to me, he goes, "Man, I think this COVID thing's going to shut everything down." I'm like, come on. That's not going to happen. And I ate those words, didn't I? The very next day after the gig, the phone started ringing, emails started coming in, the world shut down. Adapt and pivot, right? So, and I know that's maybe a little bit of an extreme circumstance, but there's going to be times in the business where you're going to have to adapt and pivot. In that case, I was incredibly thankful for all my drum students, and I'd already been teaching online for years, so I just kind of went that direction for a while until the world came back and started righting itself, and we got back to somewhat of a normalcy. Uh, so knowing how to do that, knowing how, like, if if you have a player that's in the band that you're with and they're not working out and you get rid of them and you have to get a new player in, or you decide to leave a situation and get into a new band, know, be able to do that, kind of be a chameleon wherever you land, be part of that group, and whoever lands with you, allow them to be part of your group until, you know, it didn't work out, like that one player that we had for a while. And then this one's a tough one, but I and this is one that I've had to go through, and that is find a lesson in the wreckage. Now, what I mean by that, sometimes, I said this in past videos, sometimes people come into your life for a reason. Sometimes they come into it for a season, and sometimes they come into it for a lifetime. And that's a cliche, but it's very true, right? And I had some people in my life for what I consider a reason. And I learned a lot from those people, and I learned a lot how to identify these kinds of people. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to get, and again, what I said at the beginning of this video, if I'm working with a band member and things aren't going well and I just think this is not a good fit and I think this person is in the wrong, they're probably thinking the same thing about me. So I'm not going to jump to and say that, every relationship that I've ever had within a music industry is the other person's fault. I'm not going to say that, but I will say that I've learned a lot, maybe for myself, of what not to do. But I've also learned, again, like I said a second ago, how to identify certain people and how, okay, this is not somebody that I want to work with. So I learned from that. Sometimes I look at myself and I learned, okay, this didn't work. This didn't work for me, and this wasn't a good fit for me. I shouldn't be doing that or living that kind of lifestyle. I need to live this lifestyle. And again, I need to treat this as a business, as the music business, not as the music goof off game, right? Or I'm in this for a reason, and that reason is to be creative, to do something I love. I've been playing the drums um, since I was 5 years old, and I love it so very much. And my business has gone on to be not only, as far as like the teaching end of my business, has gone on to not only be a teaching of the instrument of how to play, but a coaching thing, because I coach a lot of people through their careers, being in a band, going into their first recording session, going out on their first tour, playing their first TV show, all these things. And so all of this stuff that I have learned has been, again, been there and done that. Over 30 years in the business, and man, you can't believe the things that I've seen and lived through, right? So that's what all of these videos are about. I ended up writing a book about it, Drum Up Your Business. It's on two platforms, digital and print version, and there is a link to buy both copies if you're interested in the description below. And if you find anything in this video useful at all, please, please, please like and subscribe. And man, I'd love to hear your feedback. Like if you like this and I threw out a nugget out there that helps you And or if you heard me say something that you've been through something like that, I would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear what you have to say about it. Um, and I think the drumming community, maybe I'm out here on the left field a little bit, is a little bit different than other instrumentation, guitar players or what have you. But the drumming community is very tight and we all help each other. That's my podcast, Drummers Education Connection. I'll put a link to that in the description below as well. But I think that musicians as a whole, again, like I said, everybody knows each other, right? We're a community. So have that good reputation. Be there to help each other out. All those things are important. And if you like some of these things too, tell me what your favorite one was in the comments. I would love to hear it. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.